Here for another episode of Retailing Weekly. I'm Shama Maher, the CEO of Scaling Retail, and this is our weekly broadcast of what's happening in the retail space, awesome articles from a lot of the industry favorites that you read, and what our take on it is. So let's jump right in. Now, guys, you may have been reading a lot about what's happening these days in terms of new kinds of retail. Did you guys catch a load of what's happening with Kanye West and the release of his new collection? Well, he's done something that's super interesting. He actually has made it so you have to buy a certain product or a certain dollar value so you can actually go through and purchase the new products or the new releases. Now, what's really fascinating and interesting about this is he's making it so that you have to buy more merchandise in order to buy the stuff that you really want. Now, why is it that someone like him can go through and do something like this? Well, keep in mind, guys, that Kanye also took a bow out of the last fashion week. And why did he do that? Well, he opted for another type of selling method, right? He had his wife, Kim Kardashian, walk around in the clothes, start wearing the new collection, and obviously be using paparazzi to help sell the product. So what's fascinating is that Kanye is looking at different ways of tackling that wholesale retail marketplace. So much so that he's finding different ways of getting consumers and testing out these different methodologies to see what's gonna work in order of really yielding high sales and high results. Now, one of the things that I find is really fascinating is that a lot of small business owners right now are trying to figure out how to really crack their next role and their next pay to play in terms of selling going direct to consumer. Obviously, a lot of small brands are doing influencer marketing, and if you're lucky enough to be married to a celebrity or have friends who are celebrities, starting to tap into leveraging them to really sell the product through the use of paparazzi. Having those images in People magazine is great, right? It's low cost, it's free, and now all of a sudden you don't have to spend a couple $1,000,000 to put together an amazing photo shoot, put together an amazing fashion show, and really start to find people to see the garments, right? So let's keep our eyes on what Kanye is doing as he continues to test new direct-to-consumer selling on his retail platform, obviously making it unnecessary to go through other wholesale strategies, and his use of using his wife and let's say other friends and family to really start to help sell the collection. So that was one thing, guys, I thought was super interesting. Definitely something to keep your eyes on the prize for. The next thing is a Harvard Business Review article that was titled, "Shoppers Need a Reason to Go to the Store Other Than Buying Your Stuff." Now, this I thought was really fascinating because it comes off of an article that I was recently quoted in that ended up circulating, I think, in CNBC and a couple other platforms. And essentially what it was talking about was how we need this concept of experiential. Now, oftentimes, guys, what we see on the ground is not always bubbled up and brought up to channels like Harvard Business Review. It's usually things that we're seeing that are happening that are not being reflected in terms of academic and the way people are seeing things on a higher level. So what I would say, guys, is really start to keep in mind as you're looking to either diversify your wholesale selling strategies or you're actually a brick and mortar store owner. Again, everything kind of comes back down to really the customer experience and what it is you're going to do to help capture that customer. Now, one of the things that I thought was fascinating was this author for this Harvard Business Review was talking about some different ways of really enacting these ideas. He was talking about things like using your store as a pickup point to purchase product, to get other product. In fact, locally here in Los Angeles, I've got a great local store, and you know what? They are a UPS access point, which I thought was really amazing. Why is that great? Well, when you're a UPS access point, not only do people have to come into your store in order to pick up product, right? But when they do come into your store, they are then seeing all the other types of products that you have. This is actually a great service, right? So when we think about localizing and creating, community hubs and reasons why someone would want to come into the store, spend more time, etc., you're going to find that leveraging things like being a, UPS pickup point, also if you're going to be a drop-off point for packages, those types of things I think are really, really, really valuable. Hi, Cynthia. Great. So your question is, my business is a service fashion merchandising. Can you help me? Absolutely, Cynthia. Today we're really just talking about some of the bigger trends, what's happening in retail, but definitely shoot us an email. You can reach us at hello@scalingretail.com, and someone on our team will get back to you and we can move forward. Okay, so let's talk about the other amazing things that are happening in the retail landscape. So the other thing that I thought was really fascinating was the direction that the Limited is taking, right? I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Limited, but back in the 90s, the Limited, Express, these were all companies that were really big. They were doing tons of volume. They were really strong on the forefront. They were able to penetrate this market in this kind of like young contemporary women's work, go to night, outfit, kind of bridging those gaps there. And what's fascinating now is the Limited is actually taking their products, repackaging them, and they're going to be selling them at Belk's. Now, for those of you guys who are unfamiliar with Belk's, Belk's really operates very similar to like a Sears, right? And so as a brand that's only going to be sold at Sears, they're also repackaging themselves as a plus size only brand, right? Plus size fashion, petite and tall sizes. And so right now it is going to be a totally different team. The team is going to be selected by Belk. And a lot of the times these designers for these retail stores already know what is selling, what are kind of the best practices. And what they're trying to do here is really leverage the classic name that the Limited has had in the past, right? So the Limited is obviously known for providing a certain kind of aesthetic. It is a heritage brand for a lot of people who were going to work and trying to find this kind of affordable workwear back in the 90s. But what I think is really important is to understand that this is a great example of a brand that we've all known really reinventing themselves and taking it to the next level by repackaging it and being sold at a wholesaler. Now, if you guys recall, the Limited was traditionally just a vertical, right? Similar to your Ann Taylor's, similar to your Express stores, etc. But now they're being resold as wholesale. And so one big thing I think to watch out for is brands reinventing themselves in order to fit today's climate and trying on a bunch of different strategies to see what's going to fit. We're seeing it across the board with lots of different brands and retailers that are trying to figure out what their new identity is. The problem with this is really that so many retailers are looking for quick fixes, that they fail to adhere to a long-term strategy to actually see what's going to pay off and not pay off. So one of the things I would watch out for is, the Limited, which is bankrupted, right? They're no longer functioning in the same capacity that they used to. Really watch out for how they are going to be evolving and how long this partnership with Belk's is going to last. Are they just going to give it a season, see how it goes? Or are they really going to invest in marketing? Now, I've seen similar problems arise at companies like Sears and JCPenney's, where these markets are really trying to grasp on, right? No longer are consumers looking for a place to buy a vacuum cleaner as well as a place to, buy underwear, right? It's like we're looking to diversify. We're looking for niche specializations, etc. So they're trying to grasp, and in the effort of grasping, right, the biggest challenge here is not hanging on to strategies long enough, right? Not being able to actually see how something is going to pan out over time. So I would say, guys, keep your eye on the pulse here. Let's start to pay attention and see what is happening within these mass market department stores that are trying to find ways of revitalizing their businesses. Are they going to stay around long enough? Are they going to commit to these strategies? That is yet to be known, right? I think that's something that's really important for us to figure out and kind of keep our eye out. Now, in other news, guys, there's been so much talk about net neutrality that is going to be voted on December 14th. I know I've been talking a lot about it on Retailing Weekly, something that I think is really important and valuable for a lot of business owners to understand, something for them to really keep their eye on as far as what this might mean for their business. Definitely, guys, please read up on it. Very, very important, possibly negative impacts on your small business and on the platforms that you guys are running, especially if you are a business that is, actually revenuing dollars between $5, $10, $15 million, and you are seeing lots of traffic that comes in. You are using a lot of video. You're very search engine optimized friendly. You're doing Google search, etc. If your site speed decreases, the volume of traffic and conversion decreases, right? So this is a very important thing to keep your eye on. Lastly, one of the things that I've been keeping my eye on, of course, is the stock market and what's happening retail-wide, how are retail stocks performing. I think that it is really fascinating to see companies like Macy's continue to boom. This really picked up after Black Friday, and we're seeing the trend continue. I think that that is a fantastic nod in the right direction. Now, whether or not that's going to last, I think that's something else we've got to ask ourselves, right? This is traditionally the time of year where retail performs the best, right? Historically, we've seen 60% of a retail business, their sales are done in the final quarter of the year. So obviously we would assume that if the right merchandising is on track, if the right marketing is on track, that the businesses would pick up in this final quarter. But we will need to see how things end up furnishing come Q1, Q2 of next year. So something important to keep in mind for all of you business owners out there. This is your time. This is your moment. If you've positioned yourself strategically, this will not be your only moment. Perhaps you've been able to devise a go-to-market plan and a retail cadence whereby you are getting more consistent sales on a monthly basis, and perhaps your product line allows you to break the mold of, traditionally doing most of your business in the back 2 quarters of the year. If so, great. You have nothing to worry about. But I would say this is a great opportunity to ask yourself, how effective is our business model right now? How efficient is our sales planning strategy? A lot of retailers are having difficulties, again, not the Macy's, but the small to medium-sized businesses are having difficulties with Facebook ad, Instagram ads. So this is a good opportunity to ask yourself, should I be looking at going to Google search, Yahoo, Bing search for next year, right? What are the other channels and ways that I can start to penetrate the market? All right, guys, that's it for me for Retailing Weekly. Thanks so much for tuning in, for watching. I'll be back next week with some more thoughts and ideas. If you guys see interesting articles, things that come by your way, please shoot them over to us at hello@scalingretail.com. Feel free to put Retailing Weekly ideas in there. This is really an opportunity to let you guys know what's on the mind, what's happening in terms of the retail market, and maybe a couple strategies that you guys can glean from this and hopefully start to implement. Talk to you soon. Have a fantastic week. Bye.